Hey everybody, I'm John. This is Jason. As you can tell, I am not Chuck. He's not with us this week. He'll be back with us shortly, but for now I kind of help out behind the scenes with the show Bookends. So we didn't want to leave you hanging without a show this week, and so Jason will do kind of an abbreviated Bookends. I cannot replace Chuck by any means, so I'm going to let you do most of the talking this show, but heading into the weekend, how are we feeling?
Oh, it's going to be a great weekend. I mean, talking about college basketball, pro football, but we've also got a mix of, 162-game regular season baseball is over with, and now we're in baseball playoffs, so we've got that daytime baseball playoff feel, and we're getting hockey and basketball underway as well. So a lot going on in the sportsbook.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year. We're going to stick mostly to football because that's what everybody wants to hear about. We've got a few college games on the slate, and then we'll go straight into pros. And I'm just going to kind of kick it to Jason, and he's going to tell us about what he's seeing on his side of the counter. So
we can't wait to get some college games on the screen and some pro games back on the screen, because after watching the Colts and Broncos yesterday, everybody's they're ready to see some good football games, because that was one. If we were doing this segment with Chucky on the good and the bad, the ugly, we'd be leading with the Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson ugly show that they put for us on Thursday night.
I wasn't even going to bring it up because it was that bad, but I guess it's so bad we can't go without addressing it at all. But now that we got that out of the way, we won't talk about that game, and hopefully on Sunday we have some much better matchups. But we'll start with college. We have a couple key games with top 25 matchups going on. We'll start with number 8 Tennessee at LSU. Number 25, 62% are on Tennessee right now. 65% are on the high over. Jason, what are you guys seeing from this game?
Well, I think one of the reasons why you're seeing those tickets on Tennessee is they finally got over the hump and were able to beat Florida in their last matchup. Only beaten Florida twice in their last 18 matchups, but a big win, number 18 in the country. The other big thing for Tennessee is they're coming off their bye week. So they didn't play last week. They've got 2 weeks to prepare for LSU. LSU somewhat has struggled, but they do get a big game at home. They fell behind 17-0 Auburn. Were able to come back and win that game. They fell behind 13-0 in Mississippi State. Were able to come back and win this game. Tennessee's only road game, they beat Pittsburgh in overtime, a Pittsburgh team that just lost to Georgia Tech. So maybe the fact that they're heading down to Baton Rouge can put that hiccup on Tennessee. But Tennessee with a big advantage with having an open week to prepare.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, we'll keep going. Number 17 TCU at number 19 Kansas. It's almost a 50-50 split, TCU being the favorite, 73% like the over. What are you seeing in this one?
Well, to hear you say number 19 Kansas, I don't know if we would have ever expected that at the beginning of the season with the Jayhawks sitting 5-0, and we're not talking about college basketball. So much so that the game day team from ESPN is making the trip to Kansas, and that's going to be one of the highlighted games of the week. TCU coming off the big win at Oklahoma. Max Dugan's been absolutely fantastic. TCU can really score. They've got a little bit better defense than Kansas. Kansas has played some of the softer opponents in the Big 12, wins over Iowa State, wins over Duke. We'll see if the game day crowd can get them going and Kansas keep it rolling, but TCU is clearly the better team here, and that's why they're favored on the road.
Yeah, unique spot. Kansas, ranked team, and having game day, it should be fun. Next game, we got number 11 Utah at number 18 UCLA. Again, about a 50-50 split. Lean a little bit to UCLA with the points, and then 73% like the over. How about Utah and UCLA?
Well, UCLA shocked me last week with their win over Washington. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was absolutely fantastic. Jake Bobo, the wide receiver, which was a transfer from Duke, had a monster game. Washington had really no answers for them on the offensive side of the football. As you can see, the baseball games are scoring behind us. And UCLA 5-0. However, this is a different Utah team coming in. Utah lost their opening game down in Florida, and it has really been rolling since. Cameron Rising's been absolutely fantastic, and Utah has dominated this series. I think last year they won by over 20 points. I think they've actually won the last 5 or 6 years Utah has won this series. I know Dorian Thompson-Robinson has had this game circled to finally get over the hump and beat Utah, but that's why they find themselves a home dog.
Beautiful. And then we'll end the college slate this week, just a few, but we'd be remiss to not have the game that's happening in our own backyard. Notre Dame, BYU in Las Vegas. Again, a slight lean towards BYU with the points, and then 79% on the over. Las Vegas, baby.
Yeah, we're adding a lot of props to this game, a lot of props on Michael Mayer, the tight end. So look for the board to absolutely explode with props on both these teams, even player props on both these teams, with the game being a 4:30 start time here on Saturday at Allegiant Stadium. Notre Dame really struggled to start the season, opening loss to Ohio State, and then one of the biggest upsets of the year and losing to Marshall. Come back and get a win over Cal, get a win over North Carolina. So they've hopefully found themselves back on a track after their quarterback went down, Drew Pines taking over. But they really need to run the football and play solid defense. BYU, it's been Jaron Hall has been absolutely fantastic. Pulled a major, not so much an upset, but beat Baylor at home in one of the bigger games of the year where they were going crazy in BYU. And then they went and lost to Oregon and kind of lost their mojo. They really struggled the last 2 weeks, both wins, but not looked good against Wyoming and Utah State. So it'll be awesome to see these teams in a neutral site here in Las Vegas. I imagine the stadium's going to be absolutely packed. I imagine the Notre Dame's fans are going to travel well, and the BYU fans are going to make the trip down. So it should be a great atmosphere to play the game on Saturday night.
Yeah, it should be a fun one, right, in our own backyard. All right, college done. We're going to move to the pros. We got a few more games on the pro slate here. We're starting bright and early in London, so guess we'll do a plug for the STN Sports App. Remember, if you can't get to the sports books that early, Chucky, if you're watching, I'll make sure I do the plug for you. But the STN Sports App is perfect for a game like Giants at the Packers, but we're looking at London. Early start time, 63% are on the Packers, and 72% are on that lowish over. But what are you seeing about the early London?
Yeah, again, this is the only game this week that we actually have teams with winning records playing each other, and they get shipped off to London. So 3-1 Giants playing the 3-1 Packers. Daniel Jones obviously got banged up last week. They really didn't look good. We were able to watch Parsons and Lawrence kind of all over them. Daniel Bellinger, the tight end we talk about all the time from Palo Verde here right across the street from Red Rock, led the team in receiving yards with 23 yards. So they're not able to pass the ball. They're going to have a hard time against this Packers team, which is going to be able to do things on the defensive end. And we all know Aaron Rodgers, whether he struggles or not, finds a way to get these guys scoring some touchdowns, and a lot of weapons on the Packers side of the football with the Dillon and Aaron Jones, and he's getting the ball to Lazard. And don't be surprised if Romeo Doubs, who seems to be getting better and better each week, does big things for the Packers here.
Yep, absolutely. Moving on, Texans at Jaguars. Kind of a tale of two teams here, but should be a fun one. 77% of STN sports bettors as of right now are on the Jags, and 67% are on the over.
Yeah, the Jaguars have really been the surprise team of the league with their shutout win over the Colts a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Then they go on the road to the Chargers and beat the Chargers, and then had a tough matchup playing Philadelphia last week to suffer a loss there. But they've been really surprised. Houston's still winless. Houston, I think, beat them in their last matchup last year, but you can see the eye test that Doug Peterson has brought a different energy level down there to Jacksonville after they let Urban Meyer go last year. Trevor Lawrence seems to have it together. They brought in Christian Kirk. James Robinson's playing really, really well. And Houston, the young rookie Dameon Pierce, has been running the ball successfully, but I still think that's why you're seeing all that money on Jacksonville. And as they return home after the 2 games on the road where they shut out the Colts 24-0, maybe Jacksonville has something cooking down there win those home games.
Yeah, very nice. And then we've got Steelers at Bills next, another one that suffice to say a little bit lopsided there. I think the Steelers are close to getting close to a couple touchdowns here. We've got 64% of STN Sports bettors are on the Bills, and it's about 50-50 on the over-under, but I believe it's pretty close to a historic spread, that 2 touchdowns for the Steelers. We don't normally see the Steelers in this type of position.
And surprisingly, it's only 64%, although I think, by the time this game goes off, it won't surprise me at all if we see 80% of the tickets on the Bills. This will be the number 1 survivor pick for all the people that are in survivor pools where you're not laying points with the Bills being such a big favorite. And Kenny Pickett's going to make his not his debut. He's going to make his first start for the Steelers here, the young man out of Pittsburgh. He came in and relieved Trubisky last week. But Pittsburgh pulled the week 1 upset over Cincinnati and then has dropped 3 straight to not very good teams. We've seen Buffalo kind of struggle in Miami and then against the Ravens last week, but they return home to where we saw them beat Tennessee 41-7. So that's why you're seeing that big 14.5-point spread, and this could be a terrible spot for Kenny Pickett to go make his first start, as I think this Buffalo team is they want to continue to roll the points up, especially when they play those home games.
Yeah, and we update the points on Sunday morning, so check our Twitter, STN Sports App, to see those up-to-date percentages if you want to see right before kickoff, maybe if that Bills number ticks way, way up. Next, Bears at Vikings, another game probably near and dear to our heart. Bears fan myself, and not a very fun year once again this year as the Bears starting off. But 80% of the tickets on the Vikings getting the points. about 50-50 on the over-under, but the Bears just can't seem to find a way to click.
Yeah, well, we talk about ugly offense and watching the Colts and Broncos last night, and that is a lot of what the Bears offense looked like. Justin Fields just hasn't been able to get it going. Thought there would be a connection maybe with Mooney or Komet as the season started, but really the offense is a running offense. Montgomery, and then when he got injured, we turned it over to Khalil Herbert. They have to run the ball successfully to stay in this game, and we talk about 80% of the tickets being on the Vikings, so the fans are seeing that. They don't want to bet on the Bears. The only thing that you may have going from a Bears fan's standpoint this week is the Vikings don't take a week off after playing a game in London last week. So they make the trip overseas. They're coming back to now play on after the long travel week. So maybe from that standpoint, the Bears can steal a game. And same thing when you look at the Seahawks. From the Saints standpoint, the Saints aren't taking a bye week as well, which has been really a customary when you're sent overseas to play in London. You have a bye week the next week. So maybe a bet against on the Saints and a bet against on the Vikings, strictly on the travel schedule.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice. And I noticed during the Thursday Night Football game last night, people were already looking ahead to the next Thursday night game, cracking jokes because it is the Bears and the Commanders playing next week on Thursday Night Football. So,
well, and I think we actually get to see the Broncos on Monday night against the Chargers. So it seems like every primetime game to open the season has been the Broncos, and hopefully we see a little bit better game. But I'm already anticipating if the Chargers can somewhat play well in Cleveland this week, that we're going to see a lot of money on the Chargers next week against the Broncos, because that betting public really remembers what they saw last.
Yeah, that's right. Next, we got Lions at the Patriots. Lions about 55%. Bettors are about 55% on the Lions. As the dog, 76% on the over. Lions up and down, but they seem to be pretty strong when they're coming in as the dog.
Yeah, the big question mark here is really a lot of injuries in this game,
yes.
and St. Brown is really the question mark. We think that Swift is going to be out of the game, and what is that going to mean from a Lions offense standpoint? Goff has been great, whether it's been finding St. Brown, and last week he finds Hawkinson to put up a lot of points. They've really struggled on the defensive side to stop anybody. New England has been playing tough, just not able to get over the hump. They played the Packers really tough last week. We saw Mac Jones go down in that game. It's going to be a question mark whether he's going to play or not, and that's going to have a lot of influence on where this game's going to go. But two young teams playing hard, both trying to find themselves to fight in that division.
Yeah. All right, we're getting down to it. We got the Cowboys at the Rams. 61% actually like the Cowboys as the dog in this game.
Yeah, and again, I think it's remember what you saw last. Cowboys look good. Cooper Rush probably going to be the starting quarterback here. Prescott's not going to make his way back, still trouble gripping the ball. But Cooper Rush has done everything that they've asked of him. CeeDee Lamb has been great. Hunter Brown, the receiver. They get Michael Gallup back, Schultz back. The running backs have been good. And really, when you watch the Rams, it's been a one-man show of Cooper Kupp and then maybe an occasional Tyler Higbee sprinkled in there. So if Dallas
Allen Robinson, where are you, man?
Yeah, if Dallas can find a way to get Parsons and Lawrence attacking Stafford and find a way to cover Cooper Kupp, that Dallas offense has enough balance to maybe cause some problems. And boy, the Niners really put a show on and kind of embarrassed that Ram team, and I think that's why you're seeing people taking the points with the Cowboys.
Yeah. And we'll go on to Sunday night. We've got the Bengals and the Ravens. 62% of STN Sports bettors so far like the Ravens. 70% on the over. So Bengals, Ravens.
62% seems really, really high to me. And we've watched this Raven team. They play a lot of what's been tight ball games, struggling to finish the game last week against Buffalo. But the thing that's crazy to me in this game is Cincinnati scored 41 points on them in both games last year. I mean, Burrow threw for like 953 yards combined. I think Chase had over a 200-yard game, and then the second game, Higgins had like 194 yards. So something about that Ravens secondary gets Joe Burrow really jazzed up. And they really haven't made a bunch of changes in the secondary, and Joe Burrow in this offense coming in a game that they really have to win because Cincinnati really struggled. So Cincinnati's really owned them, and I know John Harbaugh and the Ravens have this game circled because the Bengals put up those 41 points late in the season, week 16, week 17, in a game that was really out of hand, and Joe Burrow just kept throwing and kept throwing and kept throwing. So the Ravens are this is a get back revenge game. Really upset with the Bengals that they ran the score up on them, but if you can't stop them, they're just going to keep scoring. So the thing to do in this game, I don't know what the percentage was, is maybe to take the over, because Burrow looks like he's going to have a good game, and Lamar Jackson's been really dynamic. He's going to be missing Bateman for this game. Their young receiver out of Minnesota is going to miss the game, so maybe Mark Andrews has to step up a little bit more. Maybe Duvernay has to step up a little bit more, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if it's J.K. Dobbins that gets the ball a little more out of the backfield to try and keep that Cincinnati offense off the field.
Yeah, and 70% are on that over right now for the Sunday night game. So we'll see how that number, if it goes up or down. But we'll move on to Monday night. We've got one in our team. We got the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're playing the Chiefs. Unfortunately, history shows that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs seem to have the Raiders' number, but 72% are on the Chiefs as far as the STN Sports bettors right now, and 79% are on the over in primetime Monday night. Raiders and Chiefs.
Well, you said it, that the Chiefs have really had their number. The Chiefs scored 41 in Las Vegas last year, and then they scored 48 at home last year, and I think it was a 48-9 blowout the last time the Raiders had to travel to Kansas City. Obviously a big win for the Raiders last week, after starting off 0-3. However, that big win came at the expense of the Denver Broncos, who we saw last night maybe aren't that good of a football team.
Yeah.
So you really have to ask yourself how, big win for the Raiders mentally, but are they prepared to go play a team like Kansas City, who surprisingly lost to that Colts team without their kicker and some bad turnovers in that game, but then went on Sunday Night Football last week and put a show on at Tampa against the Buccaneers and Tom Brady, and they looked absolutely unstoppable between Kelsey and Hilaire, but really it was the Patrick Mahomes show, dancing and running all over the field. So I understand why the play's on the over. Maybe the Raiders can really push the envelope and push the ball downfield. They're a little bit banged up. They've got a lot of guys not practicing early in the week. Maybe Hunter Renfrow returns to this game, but they're going to need big games out of Waller and Adams and Josh Jacobs running the football. Not a lot of turnovers, and they're going to need somebody to stand up on that defensive side to stay in this game, because the Chiefs want to keep pushing that ball downfield and they want to put up the points.
Yeah, and I hate to keep ragging on this Thursday night game, but I just hope that the Raiders-Chiefs put up a primetime game that's a little bit more exciting, whoever it is, than last night's game. But, they're enough about the punching bag that was last night's Thursday night game.
Well, but last night's game, the one thing about it, when you talk about the punching bag, it's going to lead to people not betting on the Colts and not betting on the Broncos moving forward until either of those two teams show that they have some semblance of an offense. The Colts end up winning that game, and I would have told you up until that last two series by the Broncos that the Colts were really the uglier team on the field. Matt Ryan looked like he was taking sacks from ghosts. He was literally curling up to get hit when Broncos guys weren't even around him, and Russell Wilson just looks like a shell of himself. In the post-game show, you saw Tony Gonzalez just kind of ripping him. I don't know what's going on in that offense, but everything looks a mess with both those two teams. Now, again, the Colts didn't have Jonathan Taylor, their big running back. Hakeem Nines goes out on the first play of the game. So on a Thursday night with no practice and you're missing those guys, tough situation. But I think the Colts and Broncos are going to be big bet against as we move forward until they can show something that changes.
Yeah, that's a good foresight. We'll see how that pans out and how that pans out for the rest of the season for both of those teams. But we've gone through a lot of the key games with pros, pro football, college football, so a lot of stuff happening, and you heard the action behind us as the MLB postseason action has finally kicked off. So, Jason, I know it's an exciting time for you guys at the sports books.
It's literally, this beginning of October, and once we get to the middle of October is really the best time of year. We're going to have the NHL season, get on the ice. Basketball is going to tip off with the start of their regular season. We'll have the playoff baseball and obviously college and pro football in full swing. And so there's really not a single day, both daytime and evening, that something's not going to be going on. So if there's any time to make sure you get down and get the STN Sports app, let alone it's still the $500 bonus that you can get going all the way through the end of this month, October 31st. You can get that bonus. So still time to get down, and the guys are absolutely exploding the menu. With the baseball props, we're just adding more and more homers and hits and strikeouts. So for each one of these playoff games, just go check out the prop menu. The guys in the hub are having a lot of fun putting those bets up.
Yeah, you guys You guys are doing a great job with the app. We're seeing lots of comments on social. People are betting all the different prop options and things like that. So if you want to see some stuff on the app that we're not booking yet, any with the prop parlays and some of those things you guys have added, we've had a lot of positive feedback. So tweet us, shoot us a message on Instagram, those types of things. We're always looking to expand, and Jason and the team's done an incredible job with the menu. But I think we covered it, Jay. Is there anything else that we have? Just a lot of action going on. Any parting words before I take away from my Chuck impression as best as I can? But we do miss you, Chuck. Any parting words, Jason?
No, great job filling in here, John, and hopefully we get Chucky back next week. Actually, we know we'll get him back next week. He's just had to take a little short hiatus, and we wish him the best of luck in the things that he's addressing. But great having you here, and we look forward to getting Chuck back next week and enjoy the games.
All right, guys. Jason, I'm not Chuck. I'm John. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening on the podcast, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Bookends.